Welcome to the Action Lab Leadership Podcast, where we have honest, unfiltered conversations with business leaders. I'm Danny, the founder of Action Lab Leadership, and today I'm joined by Craig Buster, who is the Chief Operating Officer at Pinz in LA, and someone that I've known for quite a long time during my career. So, Craig, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here as well, and I'm just going to dive right into it.
Let's
You've
go.
had a long career where you've grown in your responsibilities and in your leadership capabilities and the things that are important to you that are kind of under your purview. How do you define leadership? What does leadership mean to you in the world of Craig Buster?
To me, leadership is just trying to mentor people and help them grow, not only personally but professionally. Mainly in the professional space, but if I can help that person out personally as well, I think that that's just really important to me. It's kind of what feeds me in a way. I also think that leadership is being able to, run a team and them being able to respect you even during hard times, and showing that you're the person in command of whatever it might be. But yeah, I think just like personal and professional development, and education, those pieces are just so, it's really cool to watch people just grow. Like, I had people in my previous life that worked for me for over 20 years and they were a young teenager and then they grew up into this adult and you're just watching them live their life. And the fact that you can kind of help them with that a little bit in a way is just, it's powerful.
And what are the ways that you look to develop your team personally and professionally? What are when it comes to building a relationship with them and building some of that trust, are there certain strategies that you use, or what are the ways that you build that with them?
Well, first and foremost, I'm myself. I don't ever change. I think that I'm pretty raw and unfiltered, and but I'm also kind and have a big heart. Um, and for and ask that again. What was what was it again? I'm sorry.
How do you develop trust with your team? What are the things that you
Gotcha.
do
Okay,
to
that's it.
build them personally and professionally?
Yeah, I would have to say that I get them to lean into their strengths. I never change anyone's personality. I don't want them to change it. I mean, we might have to tweak some things when it comes to the professional level, but I just want to lean into their strengths, try to develop some of the things where they have some opportunities to grow. And you're dealing with a different everybody's so different. Every body is literally different. So it's important for me to be able to get lean into those guys, get to know them a little bit, get let them know me, and then just push them as hard as I can within reason and watch them fail, because sometimes failure is great because you can really just grasp something there, or just succeed and watch them just so happy. And I think both are just fantastic.
Those aha moments that you can see in another person when they
Yeah.
figure it out, when they've been struggling with something, or when they can see the results of some hard work that they've put in, there's
Yeah.
something really gratifying about being able to see that in another person.
I would agree. I mean, I could probably just give 1,000 examples, but those I can just, I always picture them like walking away from me and I'm just like, cool. I'm so happy for them right now because they're just, their fists pumped in the air and they're just really excited.
You also mentioned watching them fail. What are the
Mhm.
ways that you help coach other people through those moments where they screw up and they fail? Because everybody will, especially when they're taking on a new responsibility they've never had before, trying something different that they never tried before. What are the ways that you guide them through those failures to get on the other side and learn from it?
Stay poised. I think that's really important to stay poised, and just be able to look back and reflect on it, whether it happened a minute ago or a year ago or a week ago. What did you learn from it? And whatever you learn from it, try to apply that for something in the future. And when they do, they're always like, ah, okay, that works. It doesn't work every time, but I just try to get them to try to reflect and not beat themselves up. I've went through my times when I definitely beat the tar out of myself professionally and was disappointed in myself. And I still do that because I'm pretty driven and motivated, but at the same time, I don't do it as often as I used to. So I watch some of these younger leaders now, and I just try to reel them in and like, hey, it's all good. Like, as they say in food and beverage, it's not life or death. It's just food and beverage. So I just try to help develop them that way, and it works really well.
Well, you had mentioned there that it sounds like it's easier for you to be able to guide someone else through failure than it is sometimes to experience failure yourself and to kind of point that internally. And sometimes you said you beat the tar out of yourself, and sometimes you're able to process it a little bit faster. You mentioned that you're better at that today than you used to be, but and are there certain types of mistakes that you make or certain types of failures that you feel are harder for you to get to the learning part from, that you kind of stay stuck in that place of, damn it, I shouldn't have made that mistake, or why did I do this? Kind of that self-whipping.
I would have to say that sometimes it involves like procrastination. When people procrastinate on, you have to deal with a difficult situation or a difficult employee. And I used to be just awful at that. And now, or that one thing you don't want to do every day. You come to work and you're like, oh, I hate checking my phone messages, whatever it might be. And now I just go after those things first. I'm like, okay, let's just get everything, all the ish out of the way right away. And it makes the whole rest of the day a hell of a lot easier.
You mentioned when we're talking about this idea of mentoring other people through their career, personal lives, professional lives. When
Mhm.
you started in the industry that you're in 30 years ago, I think it was,
93.
yeah, you
Yep.
had mentioned that you didn't have that kind of mentor for yourself. But
Mhm.
now when you fast forward over time, you are that mentor for other people. So you've become
Yeah.
the person you never had that you wish you had. What is it like being on the other side of that? Is there a gratification and fulfillment that comes from that? And knowing what it's like to not have a mentor, how does that change the way that you do show up for other people?
I think it makes me more passionate about it, to be honest with you. Yeah, when I started in the industry, I didn't even know. I just thought it would be a cool job working at a go-kart track. I was like, that'll be so fun. And then it turned into a career for me, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's the best I could answer that one.
One of the things that you had mentioned earlier on in this interview is that you are you. And I
Yeah.
know that because I've known you for a while now and we've become very good friends. And
Yeah.
Craig is unapologetically Craig. And you are yourself no matter where you go or who you're talking to. And
Mhm.
I think that's a skill that not everybody has. But when you think about your ability to be yourself and not feel like you have to put on a face, not feel like you have to adjust yourself to the whims and expectations of other people, is that
Mhm.
something that you've always been good at, or is that something that you had to intentionally develop over time as a skill?
Yeah, I had to intentionally kind of develop it in a way, as you would say, because I tried to be, as I would say, more presidential or really professional, and this is not my jam. And I wasn't the best at it, but I still can be in certain spaces. And experiences helped me just be a mouthpiece for the industry in a way. And I don't know, I'm proud of that, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's been a journey of learning and the mentors and everything that you'd mentioned earlier. That I mean, I feel there is a lot of you have to carry that on your shoulders. And I would have to say, like during COVID and all that, I really felt that weight. And now I've been able to kind of get past that and go, okay, it is what it is, and that's who I am and that's what I do. And it comes a lot easier now to me. But I just ended up getting involved in the industry as best as I could. I decided that this would be my career and I wanted to, I attached myself to people and made a ton of friends and they became my mentors. And still to this day, I mean, I have them and I look up to those people so much. And now I'm that guy. And it's sometimes, like you said, it is a little weird, but it's actually kind of cool. And I've really embraced that role and I do enjoy it, and I left my old position to come to a different place and try to recreate the same thing. These guys were just sponges for that and they wanted to learn and it gets me excited.
Well, being a leader and having that kind of responsibility is already hard enough as it is. And there's already a lot of pressure that people can place on themselves or stress that people can internalize. And it makes it so much more difficult if they have all that plus the fact that they're trying to be someone that they're not. They're trying to show
Oh,
up to please everybody else and to kind of be that chameleon at all times. And listen, there are shades of ourselves that we have to kind of be able to turn up the professionalism a little bit in certain settings and adjust as we go, but we
mhm.
are at the end of the day still ourselves. And
Yes.
I think it's so important for people to realize that, and I struggled with this as well. When I was earlier on in my career, I had a realization that I was showing up as the Danny for my friends, and then I had the Danny for work, and then I had the Danny for my family, and all these different kinds of versions of me.
Hmm.
And it was really, really exhausting. And I made a decision many years back to just say, I'm bringing my whole self to the world. Like,
Yep.
I'm going to show up as me. Now, of course, like I said, we all have different shades of ourselves. And, sometimes I have to be more polished than others. I'm not going to be, act like I do maybe on stage when I'm just hanging out with a couple of friends, but it's important to understand when to shift through the variations of myself. I'm curious, because that's a skill that you've developed over time. If there are listeners who are listening or watching this podcast and they're maybe struggling with that too, the idea of trying to be different people for other people, what are the ways that they can start showing up as themselves more real and more authentic on a regular basis?
Ooh, hey, that's a hard question. But I just think that you have to find your groove in each of those spaces. And and it's important. I mean, you said it best that you just need to, it is exhausting and you need to be yourself and just kind of become a little bit of an amoeba. You might make some tweaks here and there, pardon me, but you just need to be yourself because you can't change your personality. If you end up, I mean, you do have to be a little bit, I'll use just layman's terms, you have to be a little bit fake in certain spaces or a little bit different here, different there, whatever it might be. But it's important to always just be you. It's way, way easier, and you'll eventually find your groove. And I trust me, I can remember a leadership meeting I was in probably 25 years ago, and I said something off the cuff, and the owner looked at me and said, "Get out." Because I was out of line. And you're gonna have to have those failures. And he came up to me afterwards, chewed into me or ripped into me, and I said, "Yes, sir, got it." And you have to have those moments. So, I mean, the best piece of advice, you're just gonna have to fail. I don't know. I don't have like this really great piece of advice except for just, take a step back, be yourself, and just see where it takes you, man.
As you know, I'm a big stickler for language, and I'm going to push back on something that you just said, if you don't
Uh-oh.
mind,
Yeah, let's
because you had
go.
mentioned, well, in layman's terms, for lack of a better word, sometimes we need to be fake. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think if we think about the different aspects of our personality, there are some dials that sometimes I need to turn this up a little bit based upon the environment that I'm in, and sometimes I need to turn that down. But I don't think that it's necessarily putting on a fake mask of I am somebody else and I'm not going to be Danny, but I'm going to be this kind of puppeteered version that they want to see.
Agreed. Yes, well said, Danny. Thanks for cleaning up my mess there. Yeah, no, like I said, I've tried being quote unquote fake a couple different times, and I did it with at my old team and the guy below me. I said, "All right, I'm going to be a little bit more," and he was like, "That's never going to work, dude," and it didn't. I lasted maybe 2.5 days, and I just went right back to being me, and it was better for everyone, including myself.
Yeah, that's understandable. And I enjoy conversations with you because we get to, one, we immediately dive in and go deep. We don't have to talk about fluff stuff. And sometimes there will be something you say, I'm like, oh no, I don't agree with that. Let me tell you my perspective. But I
Yeah,
love that we can have that back and forth.
yeah.
One of the things that you had mentioned a little bit earlier in this interview was that you recently transitioned into kind of a new role. You were
Mhm.
with a previous company for, I guess it was about 30 years,
31
and
years.
you had grown up through that organization, and you had grown the organization and expanded it got so much bigger over time, and you contributed a whole lot to that. And I know you don't necessarily want to take public credit for it, but I'm going to
No,
give that
I
to you.
do. I did. Yes.
But you were there for a really long time. And I think that there's a certain sense of comfort and familiarity that can come from being at an organization like that.
Yep.
Walk us through what that transition was like. Was it hard to walk away from something so familiar? Was there apprehension and fear about starting somewhere new and somewhere different. What was that experience like for you?
Well, I'd been there a long time. Loyalty is very important to me, personally and professionally, to be honest with you. And at times I think that I have been loyal to a fault on the personal level. I've kind of fixed that. And on the professional level, I'm loyal as long as somebody is loyal to me, and I feel like it's going somewhere. At this point in my career, I'm looking for a little bit more of an end game. And it's strange, but I basically kind of put myself out there a little bit with some people that I trust and know, and then an opportunity was brought to me, and it just seemed right. It was actually extremely easy, and I still look back at it because I could have just easily just kept on coasting, but I needed the new challenge. I was ready for a new beginning. That's really probably the biggest thing for me. And it was just easy because it felt right. I know some other people just within our industry that have kind of been through the same thing. We've had those conversations, and they were at a company for a long time, and then they went to something different, and it was just easy. Now, of course, whenever you transition into a new position, you've been somewhere a long time. The first 4 to 6, maybe 8 months, rose-tinted glasses on, everything's pretty and beautiful. And then that comes off. And it usually comes off pretty abruptly. And then you find out where you are in reality land. And I still feel like it was the best decision I've ever made in my life. And I know that I say that with passion because I believe that. It's just been so perfect for me. I'd never thought that a man from Reno would move to Los Angeles. I mean, what are you thinking, man? But I love it. It's great. And it's just been good for me personally and professionally. And it just came easy. If it feels right, I guess is the advice I would give. If it feels right, go for it, man. I mean, just vet it in every way. And I vetted it hard. Don't get me wrong. I did my due diligence. But if it feels good, go for it.
If we think about your decision as a pie chart between two different feelings, of one feeling being excitement and one feeling being fear, when you made the decision, what percent of that decision was based on excitement and how much fear did you still have? Was it 80-20, half and half? What did that look like?
Probably more like 98% excitement, 2% fear. I wasn't really, I don't know, I wasn't really concerned. I just loaded up a U-Haul and moved to Los Angeles and started over, new beginning. And it was just, I don't know. Yeah, it could even be less than that, to be honest with you. I didn't really have anything. I can still remember going through the whole process, just about a year ago, and there really wasn't much fear.
You mentioned in there that after a certain period of time, the rose colored glasses come off. And when they do, I would imagine there's some challenges, friction, and obstacles that you have to overcome with the business itself.
Yeah.
Did your employees have that same experience with you where it's like, hey, we have this new leader, Craig, coming and everything's great? Was there a point in time where some of the rose colored glasses came off, and just in general working through some staff friction, culture friction, trust friction at all? Or was that a smooth process for you?
Um, I think it was fairly similar for them as well, because the first, probably 4 to 6 months was kind of the getting to know you stage and getting to know each other and how we work, and, having the deep conversations, one-on-ones, I asked why so much. I still ask why a lot. And then I keep going until there's no more whys. Um, But I think that it was about the same time for them too, because I was just trying to create the culture that I wanted, which is, something I want to help develop you. It's positive. I want it to be a great place to work. I want to walk around, high five people. We can fist bump elbows, whatever we're doing. We can joke around. We can have a good time because, any business you work in, but especially dealing with the public, is hard. So I want it to be a fun environment. Okay, cool. Nailed that. And then I started having to turn the dial on these guys and push them in directions that I felt they needed to go. Like, we need to strengthen some leadership skills here, or, you're a little bit inconsistent, or you're too soft. You're being pushed around, whatever it might be. There's, every leader had something different. But by the way, I had a hell of a lot less leaders, which is great. My last place was 200 employees. Here I have 50. What a blessing. Um, but I started. So I think at that point they were like, okay, here's the other side of Craig. And I wasn't, I'm not mean. I'm not pushing them, but I'm just trying to push them gently, like, hey, let me help you. And they listen and they were excited. I think you can also, and if I just add this to them for what it's worth category, but sometimes when people are at jobs a long time, they get complacent. They become what I would call a state worker, quote unquote. And there's no diss to state workers. Plenty of friends that are, but it's just, that typical analogy where, oh, they're just coasting, holding the shovel on the side of the road. When you do get that. And I don't have that here. So I think there's a lot of people that just kind of start going, we're just cruising along, man. And they become just they, they don't want to grow. And I want people that are in my organization, the leaders, have to want to grow. I don't like people that continually do this. I want people to do this. And if they do this and have a couple of hiccups along the way, I'm cool with it. But continue to grow because you can always get better. These guys have taught me a ton. I was like, holy cow, I didn't think about that. And it just opens your eyes up and, being open-minded to wanting to learn from whoever it is, I think is really fantastic.
We've talked about the fact that people are going to make mistakes. People will screw up. It happens. We screw up, employees screw up, everyone will, right? You also mentioned that I know you are a very compassionate person and you're very loyal to your team. How do you make decisions when you think about team members? At what point do you have to get past the loyalty that you appreciate them as a person and get to the point where you're like, this is just not a good fit. We need to move on, and you'll no longer be working here. For you, is that a tough kind of hump to get over with a person? Do you typically keep them on for a really, really long time and give them many chances? What does that kind of mental formula and equation look like for you when it comes to people who are just not meeting standards or maybe continually making mistakes?
As usual, Danny, you always use you have tough questions, and that's a hard one. I treat every person in that regard differently. It really boils down to accountability and growth for me. If they're not going to hold themselves accountable, own a mistake, learn from it, don't continue to make the same mistakes, and they continue to grow, but then we're good. And when they are not, that's when we start having that deeper, little bit more of a, hey, a lot of times I use the analogy, and it may seem a little harsh, but I'll tell them at times I use this now. I'll be like, hey, we're on a train. We're at the train station. You can stay at the station. You can hop on my train, or at some point I might ask you to get off of the train. And I don't want to do that. So don't, if you want to work here, let's do this together. Let me help you. What can I do to help you? And I reach out to, I do that to them a lot, or to people a lot if I get into that point. And if they're just not the right fit, it's typically it's like if you're terminating somebody for doing something wrong, that's typically pretty easy. 5 minutes, bam, boom, ping, you're done. But if it's a leader, it's a little bit different. You're having a deeper conversation when you know that they don't want to be there. And you just have to kind of take them to that point where they will admit that, yeah, I really don't want to work here. I'm just here collecting a paycheck. It's like, okay, well, now what do we do? Because my expectations, what do you want to do here? And I've probably been through that 20 times, that scenario, and it takes a lot of work. It requires a lot of you know, it just it stresses you out. It requires a lot of mental. It takes a lot out of you, to be honest with you. But the other part of it is that I usually know that person on a personal level. So I try to be as reasonable as possible. But there also comes a time when I cut that off, and I'm like, I can't. Your personal life is affecting your professional, and vice versa. I can't deal with the personal stuff anymore. We're at work. Let's get this done and let's move forward.
You had mentioned that accountability and growth are super important to you as a leader and the characteristics that you look for in the leaders that you hire as well as the frontline employees that you hire. And I will say that I've had the opportunity to meet your leaders because we're doing some training together. And you've got a group of really fantastic people.
Yeah.
One of the things that happens a lot in the family entertainment industry is oftentimes people, owners or managers will look at their potential staff and think, well, I just have people who are going to be here a couple of years in high school or a couple of years in college, and then they're going to move on. So I'm not going to have good people. It's just not really realistic to think that, and all this stuff. And I call bullshit on that, because I've seen time and time again, there's so many good people in this industry, and there's so many good people that simply sometimes just need the guidance. They need a little bit of skill development. They need a mentor, whatever that might be. And the amount that they can grow and climb in their own skill set, the responsibilities that they take on, the impact they make in an organization is dramatic, just by being able to invest a little bit in those people and recognize how good the labor pool really is. I just find it so frustrating at times. People are like, well, the labor pool sucks, and I'm just going to have people who are here for a couple of years and move on, and it's whatever. How have you embraced the idea of being able to see potential in other people? Where does that come from, to be able to look around your staff, see the potential, and say, I want to invest in that?
If they buy into the culture, you mentioned it, and I will call bullshit as well on the fact that I'll ask leaders in the industry all the time, like, how's your business? How's culture? And they'll say things like that. And I'll be like, well, are you taking time to build your culture? And, oh, culture's good. Culture's good. I, yeah, when people and they're just kind of and they just it's off-putting, or oh no, I just kind of push it to the side. I'm like, okay, your culture sucks then, and you're probably not taking that time to invest in each one of those people. That's so important, man. I mean, I want people that are gonna let's jump on the train. Let's go. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's have a good time, and let's fail together. Let's succeed together. I want to see you go through, personal struggles, and what can I do to help you in that regard, and those types of things. So, I think culture is a big piece, and I think that this industry can do a better job at this because of. I mean, one of the things what you said is that it's not a turn and burn industry. I mean, it's proven at other facilities and the successful facilities that win top family entertainment center in the world or whatever it might be. They have, at my last place, the average was over 17 years that the managers were with us. That's crazy. This place is not that way, but it will be. I can assure you of that.
I believe you when you say that, because it will be. And whenever I shared that statistic with other people, that your management team, that your average tenure was 17 years, their jaws would hit the floor. And it's one of those things that is unfortunately uncommon, because not everyone has the same level of intentionality through culture and skill development that you do. And that doesn't mean that everything's rainbow and sunshine all the time. There is hard stuff that happens. There are frustrating things that happen. There are stress, things go wrong. And I think that culture, one of the ways that I kind of define it is, how does the team respond in times of stress and failure? Because when culture can be good, when everything's rolling and everything's great and revenue's up and profits are up and things are rolling smoothly, customers are amazing. But when things go wrong, how do your people respond? And I think that's one of the ways that's a big tell about culture.
It it is. It's crazy. I don't know if this is probably not the best topic to bring up, but a couple of months back we had nobody was hurt. We had a shooting in the parking lot. And I remember kind of dealing with it, boom, 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 canceled the event. No harm, no foul, got everybody out safely. Everything was good. But I remember afterwards, I reflected on it and went, okay, I went through each leader and I'm like, aha, okay. Those moments you go, this is where I know that I was blown away by some of these. I thought there were certain people I thought, oh, they're going to be strong. And I'm not judging them. I mean, when it comes to things like that, it's way different. But your reaction to some things, I mean, some people were just extremely, in my opinion, overly dramatic. It really was, it was out in the parking lot, it wasn't in the facility, that type of thing. But I also watched other people just step up and just remained calm. And I was like, holy cow, like these guys are really good, man. So I knew that I was like, okay, cool, latch on, latch on, latch on. I got it. Okay, I got some work to do with these people, that type of thing. And it was just cool to see that. I love that stuff.
How in that kind of experience, that's a highly emotional, dramatic event that happened. Like you said, it wasn't in the building, but regardless, there's I think people can attach um, a lot of drama and to that and be very afraid about an experience like that. And you mentioned that there were some people that stepped up, calm leadership, and able to kind of direct things like, go over here, let's do this, let's take care of that. I'm going to call these people, get them out, all those types of things. And some people maybe didn't respond as strongly in those moments. You kind of being at the top of the hierarchy, so to speak. What was your reaction in that moment when that was happening?
Um, I've been through, again, I'm a big believer in training. I've been through active shooter training before. So I knew how I would react. I'm always kind of prepared for it. Even when I now in my personal life go to a concert or a sporting event, like, okay, where's the exit? All right, cool. So if something goes down, I'm going, all right, got it. And it's like something I always am alert to. So I was very calm, instantly got into the situation, made sure first and foremost that people are safe, and then just kind of attached thing, started talking to the team and closed up shop, got everybody out safely, and then had follow-ups with other people that needed it. It culture takes time and money. It does. And I get it that people don't may not want to spend, and that's their choice. That's cool. But you're going to create so many struggles for yourself. You can develop people that will believe in you and believe in your brand if you take the time or you spend the money on active shooter training, leadership training, sending them to conferences. I think so many people in our industry just really flounder at that, and it's maddening to me. And I'm always at the top of the mountain screaming, saying, "You need to send your people." I mean, what's it going to send your cost to send your people to, active shooter training or leadership training? I mean, develop them. You can't expect them to be just good all the time. You have to push them a little bit, and you have to have another voice come talk to them. If you don't have another voice come talk to them, they get tired of hearing you, man. I mean, they just do. So bring in different people. Go to seminars. I like me, been in the industry forever. Guess what I'll do? I go to a conference, I go to seminars. I'm probably the oldest dude in there, sitting there like a little nerd, and because you're gonna get a nugget, and that's important. And people, oh, I don't even go to them. I just gonna go out and have some beers, or whatever. And I don't agree with that. Maybe that's why I'm better than them. I don't know. Just kidding.
Calm
Some.
confidence. I like it. Well, this is essentially skill development. And in
Yeah.
your career, from where you started to where you are now, you've developed a lot more skills than you used to have.
Oh yeah.
When you look at the future and you look forward, what are the types of skills, qualities, characteristics that you want to develop as a leader? What are the kinds of things that you look at in yourself and say, that's something I really want to improve on right now?
Scaling, I think that's a challenging one for me at times, which is weird to say because I took a company that went from 600,000 to 13 million a year, and then I had 20 employees to 230 employees. So we scaled, but it's still, oh my God, it's hard, man. It's so hard. And we're starting to do that here, and I think that one's probably one of the most challenging for me. I still need to do a better job at times, holding people accountable. Let's say I didn't get a good night's sleep. I come in, I need to deal with a person, but I could kick it to tomorrow. And at times I still do that. And I'm like, and I always regret it. And it's just foolish. Like, I preach go after the things that are hard to do, but sometimes, I mean, I'm human too, man. And I just wake up and I'm just exhausted or just cooked, and I'm not feeling it that day. But every time I don't do it, I regret it.
As we're going through this interview and this conversation, is there anything that I have not asked you yet that you really wish I would? Is there a topic that when it comes to leadership, when it comes to business, that you would love to talk about right now that we haven't discussed yet?
I don't believe so. I just would say that and I kind of went off on a little tangent a second ago about it, but invest in your people. Culture is important. If you look at yourself in the mirror and go, yeah, my culture's good, then it's not. Your staff will tell you by their actions. Um, invest time and money into them. Let them travel to conferences and have a little bit of fun. It's not going to cost you that much money, man. It's just not. I mean, it just even if you're, whatever, a small little mini golf place in Arkansas, whatever it might be, invest in your people. I don't care what you do, but just invest in your people, and you will see your business grow.
Well, I see you continually investing in your own people and giving them the skills and tools to succeed both within the organization, but also outside and at home and wherever they go in life after this. Because, like you mentioned, you're going to have a lot of managers based upon the culture that you're building stick around for a long time. Not everyone will. They will go on to other things. And the things that you teach them now, the foundations that you lay, the skills that you give them, will follow them the rest of their career for everywhere they go in the future.
That's a great point, and I want to say something about that as well. Is that I if one of my leaders, one of my best leaders, decides to jump ship and go take another job somewhere else or whatever, I'm great with that. I'm happy for them. If that's what they want, then that's what I want. I don't look at it as like, oh man, what did I do wrong? I I want to feel comfortable when I terminate somebody or they decide to move on to a different position. I did everything I could. And so I'm at peace with it. It's very comfortable. I mean, if one of my guys leaves, then I'm like literally happy for him. I mean, it's more important than working for me. I'll just bring up somebody else. Let's go. So next man up. I love that stuff.
I love it too. And you mentioned being at peace with those things. I'm at peace with our conversation that we've had today. Craig, I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for being here on the Action Lab Leadership Podcast.
Thank you so much, Danny. Much appreciated. Always love chatting with you.
And thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with a friend. And remember, go out there, take action in your business, and become the leader that your team needs.